There's no way to motivate or support someone guaranteed. There's no way to get your happily ever after guaranteed, no matter what, period. And I think that we need to have that conversation on day one with families. It is the truth, y'all. I don't want to be the guy that's like rain on everyone's parade, but that's just the truth. Welcome back to another episode of Till the Wheels Fall Off. I'm Matt.
I'm Paige.
Let's talk about support and how you support somebody today. Let's talk about the truth of support, and let's talk about the myth of support. One of the most common messages I get anyway is, how do I support him? What can I do to support him? What does support look like for him? Treatment centers, IOPs all over the world are giving family members documentation on what support looks like. We've actually got some of that here with us right now. We're going to read through it, give you our take on it, and we're going to give you our common sense beliefs on what support actually looks like, what you can and can't do, truly, how you can protect yourself through this entire process. And this is sort of a boundaries discussion. It's sort of an expectations discussion, and it's sort of distilling down the reality of recovery for people and having an honest conversation about how much your support can actually affect somebody. I think it's going to be really crucial. These conversations aren't happening nearly as much as they probably should. Before we get going, thanks to SoberLink for being the sponsor of today's show. SoberLink is the world's greatest accountability device that happens to look like a breathalyzer. It's amazing. And if you're someone like me and you're trying to rebuild trust, put your money where your mouth is. If you're serious about it, prove it. Get a SoberLink. SoberLink isn't just an accountability device for you because you're serious about stopping this time, because you will have a network of people that get alerted every time you use it, and that is a deterrent. My favorite thing, Paige's favorite thing, is that it's really a gift that you give your loved ones. They're sick of looking for bottles. They're sick and tired of checking your location. They're sick with worry, thinking about what you're doing or not doing. Give them the gift of transparency. That's what SoberLink really does. So if you're serious, as you say, about rebuilding trust in your relationship, you have no more excuses and no more reasons to run and hide. Get a SoberLink. It has facial recognition technology and it's tamper-proof, so you can't mess with it. So when it comes to rebuilding trust, man, I can't think of a better tool other than just changing your behavior and doing it the right way that can assist people in expediting that process, because that's what we're really about here. And if you're somebody that's on the other side of this and you're like, I'm just trying to keep my kids safe, SoberLink's there for you in those moments too. Trusted by over 200,000 people. It is court admissible in all 50 states and in Canada, and it's considered the gold standard in court. And it has now never been easier to get into a SoberLink. There are no more upfront costs. They've removed that totally. You can now rent a device for as little as $19 a month when you sign up with a qualified one-year plan. You can just rent the device. No money out of pocket day one. And since you're an awesome listener of this show, you can go to soberlink.com/wheels and enter in your email address, and they'll send you $100 to help pay for that monthly plan. Doesn't get much better than that. Again, that's soberlink.com/wheels. Enter your email address and take advantage of this latest offer. While you're on the internet, check out tufo.com. That's where we've got everything. We've got a free Facebook community over there. And when you get into the community, you can discover our new Discord server. Facebook is getting rid of Facebook community chats. A lot of our members, wheelies, are using these chats to connect with each other regionally. Sometimes it's topic contingent, like there's an early recovery chat. There's all different kinds of chats.
No contact.
No contact. So if you're no contact, that's a certain, you need some people who really get what you're going through. And
Absolutely.
They're in those chats. And so we've got them all lined up. And that's totally free as well. You can come check it out. You're going to have to find it in the community though. So, and if you're a listener and someone else isn't, don't tell them. This is for listeners only.
Yes.
It's just for you guys.
Trying to keep this safe.
Yeah, we want you to come and check it out. Over at our website, you can also find out more about us. We've got merch up there. We've got a blog, which is updated more seldom these days because of my Monday episodes. But there's still a bunch of old stuff on there that's really great that you can go back and read. Like probably like 50, 60 blogs I wrote over the last year. We've got sweatshirts, more on the way, hopefully soon. Having trouble sourcing these things. Some hats. We've got stickers. We've got recovery rocks. That's a recovery rock right there. It's got our logo on the front. On the back, it says, "Thank you for being my rock." This is a really cool way to acknowledge your spouse's portion of the journey, because you don't get a whole lot. If you're a member of an Al-Anon group,
we're part of this story too.
Yeah, you would get recognition from the members of that group. But what about you showing recognition and appreciation, especially in something that she probably showed you in the first place, right? It's a pretty cool way to acknowledge someone else's interests and their role in your recovery and in your life as you're working to be better. So that's a really cool way you can acknowledge that.
Wheelies like to give each other this too.
They do.
Because
It's
they
really
lean
cool.
on each other during the hard times. It's amazing.
Before I forget, we have these awesome water bottles. These are not for sale. These are for giveaway. These are for free. On the front, there's a poem, and I've tried to mess with it in this camera. And let me see.
No, I don't think that's working, babe.
I don't know if that worked or not. It says, I wrote this poem a while ago. This is a part of it.
This is the end of it, yeah.
There's a fire inside you. It burns from within. The source of your light is never from them. It's a reminder. I wrote this to Paige and my daughter, but I think it's fitting for wheelies as well, to remember where your source of strength really does come from. It's pretty powerful. We are trying to get away from putting TUFO over everything, even though I think it's awesome. And not everyone wants to explain what that stands for when they're in the school drop-off line. So
eventually they do, though. It's kind of cool.
Eventually they do.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, we totally get it.
Yeah. So we need stuff like
it's just got a cute poem on it. We're going to be giving one of these away on Instagram and one of these away in our Facebook community. So anyone can participate. Even if you don't have a Facebook, we will have instructions soon on how you can win one of these things. We will send it to you with a sticker or so. I'm sure we'll probably throw a sticker or two in there. But yeah, it's another cool way that you guys can engage with our content.
And it's an Awala bottle, and those are my favorite.
Yeah, those are legit.
Because it's a straw and you can drink from it.
And we're looking at maybe getting these things wholesale. We're not sure.
We're going to look into it because we had people who were like really into it.
So to buy them, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, and if you want to support the show, which we really appreciate.
Yes, thank you.
Paige has set up a link called Buy Me a Coffee. With all of the new recurring expenses, like figuring out that we've been using music without a license for the last 3 years. Apologies, by the way, for the creator of that.
We didn't know.
Did take care of that. I thought apparently there's a difference between public domain and royalty free. And I just thought they were one and the same. It's not true. Turns out it's not true.
Nope.
But anyway,
we learned something new.
If you wanted to give back to the show, if you've ever wanted to contribute in some way, there's in any of our social media profiles, you can click in there and you can enter in a recurring amount or a one-time amount, and we really appreciate it if you do, and we love you all the same if you don't. Also, you can send us an episode suggestion. You click the show description on this episode right now. There's a little button there, and you can send us a suggestion for an episode, which is really cool. We love hearing from you guys, but remember, it's one way, so you can't ask us a question and expect feedback because
we can't respond to you. We don't know who you are.
No clue, right? So just send us a suggestion. If it's
we do know your location, though. It does tell us where you're from.
Yeah, that's about it. It's all we get.
Which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is. But if it's something that we haven't covered, if it's something that we feel like other people are really asking about a lot, or something
that we haven't thought of,
would love to talk about it.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, this stuff is for you guys, right? Like, we've had these conversations.
And Matt loves to talk. So,
yeah, if you can't tell.
That's good.
So, anyway, I think that does it. Let's get to the conversation now.
Okay. So, we do get a lot of questions about how do I support my partner? And this is typically whenever they're going to treatment or IOP or when they're like just getting sober. And what I don't necessarily know if they know why they're asking that question or what I want them to, if you're asking this question, I want you to dig deeper into it. I kind of want you to dissect this question and figure out what you're really trying to ask. So you're trying to ask, like, what can I do to make sure their recovery is sustainable and it sticks and everything will be, hunky-dory, like it'll be perfect.
Hunky-dory.
I used to say that since forever. I was a child, and you haven't heard it in a while, have you? But are you doing it for that, or do you really want to know, like, how you can support them in a way that's meaningful for both of you in a way?
I have a thesis on this.
Okay.
This is my theory when people ask, how can I support them? That is code for, how do I make sure this works? How do I guarantee he gets better? People are looking for a way that they can influence the outcome to ultimately create safety in their lives again. And I think that's what's underneath it all. I really do. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think that that's the question that's really being asked. Mm-hmm. But if you ask that question, what do you think the answer would be? Like, if your friend asked you that question, how do I guarantee this outcome? Like, oh, I really can't. Like, how do I make sure this works? I mean, you really can't. And that's the truth. And that's the truth of the answer to how do I support them as well. There are things you can do, as we will talk about in this episode, on ways that you can reinforce someone's behavior in a way that gets them to do what they're supposed to do. But there's also a limit to that. Yeah. And there are things that you probably shouldn't be doing. And there are also conversations that we really need to have before this ever gets started about the real outcomes here and what the typical outcomes actually look like. And those are conversations that really aren't happening when it comes to recovery places, like whether that's an inpatient treatment facility. a detox facility or intensive outpatient facility or even PHPs. They're really not having really sincere, honest, candid conversations with spouses. Maybe some do. I'm not saying that no one is doing it. I'm just saying it's not typical. But when people are asking the question, how can I support them? How can I best support them? That is code for how do I make sure that this works? Because they need it to work. They really do. Like a lot of their hopes and dreams and the future of their family, it rests on this person getting their shit together.
Yeah.
And it's scary whenever you're looking down the barrel of, holy crap, they're about to come home. And you're thinking like, you're honestly, most of the time, this is sad, but it's true. Most of the time you're thinking a hell of a lot more about their recovery than they are. Just going to say it. That's the truth, is that you're thinking a lot harder about what a supportive household would even look like than they are. That's truth.
Yeah.
Man, it's tough. It's tough. And like that breaks my heart for people. Like it really does. But what's your take on it, Boo?
No, I feel the same way. But I also do know that there are people who ask about support and they really want to know, like, how can I support them? How can I be there for them? I don't think that I specifically asked this question when you were in treatment. I was just kind of like going with the flow and just seeing what was happening. But we weren't at a point where I was like really, really resentful towards you or anything like that. So I think that I like naturally supported you, but we'll talk about that later. I kind of want to talk about what we've seen in certain programs and what they tell people to do. I found your old IOP binder and there was a letter to my family from the addict it's from the addict, but it's not from you. Like you didn't write it. The treatment center wrote it. And I read it and I'm sorry, I have something in my mouth. Okay.
Is that one of my beard hairs?
I don't know.
Dog hair?
Something. Oh my gosh, it is your beard hair.
Told you.
How?
Magic.
It's like flying around and getting in my mouth. Okay. So I wanted to read this because I have a lot of thoughts on it, and I think a lot of our listeners will have some thoughts on it too. And you will have some thoughts on it. So
yeah. And I would also say this is probably a pretty typical sort of intro for the family that they would receive when your loved one goes into a treatment facility. It doesn't just mean inpatient, right? This is the kind of conversations that they're generally having with families. I don't think that what we're about to read is a false representation by any means on what is generally passed out.
Right. And also I know that some places don't even offer any type of advice for families. They just say, hey, go to a meeting and that's what you're supposed to do. And I know why, because whenever families do go into the treatment centers and they're giving this information, they're going to be deterred. They're not going to want to be involved to a certain extent. And you'll see why once I read it. An open letter to my family. Chemical dependency is a family illness and needs the total family's involvement toward recovery. I am a chemically dependent person. I need help. Don't. All of the don'ts in this is underlined. I just want to put that. It's very aggressive in my opinion. Don't allow me to lie to you and accept it for the truth. For in so doing, you encourage me to lie. The truth may be painful, but get at it. Do you want to talk about this as we go down? Or do you want me to read the whole thing?
I think that's worthy of a pause for a moment.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Let the dog off the leash.
First of all, I don't think we allow our partners to lie to us, okay? This is still putting so much pressure on the spouse of saying, like, you're allowing them to lie to you. I didn't know Matt was lying to me. Most of us don't know that our spouses are lying to me. So for you to tell me don't allow them to lie to me is like, excuse me, but that is not how this works. And also, how am I supposed to make you stop lying? How am I supposed to make a manipulator stop lying? Am I just some freaking magical person that I can just tell you to stop lying to me? What are we doing here?
One of the features of a lie is that you're doing it without the person's knowledge. That's what makes it a lie. How are you supposed to know when someone is lying to you? So what it's saying is, don't allow me to lie to you. And I think I know what they're getting at here. And it's like, when you know that I'm lying about something, when you can pick up on all my tells, don't back down. I think that's what it's saying. I think what they're calling for is to challenge someone, but that's got its own
but you
set
can't
of
even
issues.
Do that.
And then as we go on, what you will see is that families are kind of told not to do that as well.
Exactly.
So it's tricky.
It's very, very conflicting. Okay.
Let's continue.
So the next one says, don't. Again, underline, don't let me outsmart you. This only teaches me to avoid responsibility and to lose respect for you at the same time. Okay, so again, manipulation. Y'all are very good at what you do. I say this in almost every freaking episode. How can I sit there and say, don't let you outsmart me when I don't even know what you're like? You make us feel crazy, right? Like we feel insane to where it's like, I can't even say anything. So to say that I'm not supposed to let you outsmart me, like, guys, what are we doing?
If you didn't want to outsmart me, I would tell you what that would actually look like. You would be tracking bank transactions. When I got home in the afternoons, you would be counting cash and doing the math with the receipts. You would be looking at my location every day. You would force me to put you on all of my medical forms as someone that can receive information. And you would have to double check and verify the prescriptions that I'm taking. You would have to count the bottles to make sure that all the pills are in there.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to outsmart me, you better get ready to have a full-time job.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm being sincere about that.
Even though there's a lot of people who do a lot of those things that you just mentioned, right? Like I didn't go down that route of counting things or looking through things. Codependent. Yeah. Yeah. So the only way that I wouldn't let you outsmart me is if I was like on your ass all the time. That's not a relationship. That's not something that's healthy. That's not.
They're asking you to be my parent at that point. They're asking you to like babysit me.
Yeah.
You know? That's rough. That is a tall effing order. At the very least, we can agree on that. That's a really tall order.
Okay, the next one is don't let me exploit you or take advantage of you. In so doing, you become an accomplice to my evasion of responsibility.
I think that any organization whatsoever that deals with spouses and partners has talked about enabling, right? Enabling someone. And so if they're asking for money and their pattern is that they use that money to do something they're not supposed to with it, are you an accomplice? Yeah, sorta. But it's also you have to acknowledge where that's coming from. That's coming from a place of empathy, and that's coming from a place of knowing that if you don't give it to them, they could go, rob somebody and do it. And it's really hard to say no. And you still should say no. But what I'm saying is like, you need to have empathy for that. And that's a really difficult way to deliver a message like that without understanding why this person's even in that position in the first place. And it's a really unfair place to be. And it's asking so much of this person that we assume to be totally fit and healthy and have their shit together. And that's just rarely the case because of what they've experienced living with this manipulative, abusive person. And we're just assuming that they are so well put together that they can hear information like this and know and discern exactly what to do. You know, like you can read that and you can infer from it what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, and if somebody is violent or whatnot, and you were to say no at some point, there's a point where people are like, I'm just going to give in because I can't. There's going to be consequences if I don't. So then that's putting it on the spouse again, where it's like you're giving and giving and giving, but it's like, but the other person is violent and abusing and harmful. Like, why are we not focusing on that instead of the other way around? Yeah. So I mean, there's obviously like there's that part when it comes to enabling and stuff, it's really difficult.
Don't let me exploit you. Man, it's tough.
Okay, the next one is don't lecture me, moralize, scold, praise, blame, or argue when I'm drunk, high, or sober. Sober. What? You may feel better, but the situation will be worse. Okay, so you're not allowed to stand up for yourself at all, or what?
Well, it says earlier, don't let me lie to you and accept it for the truth. Don't let me outsmart you. Teaches me to avoid responsibility. In doing that, at some point, you might have to give someone what many would consider the third degree, aka a lecture, in having a serious conversation with why what you did was not okay. I don't know how the fuck else you communicate something like that. Excuse my language, but at some point it's going to sound like you're scolding them because you are. Mm-hmm. Let's just be honest. You are. What this is saying is don't do any of those things. Like don't correct them. Don't do any of that. But right before then, what we're getting at here, it's not so we can say, aha, gotcha, hypocrites. No, what we're getting at here is that the signals and the messages that you're getting as a family oftentimes are mixed at best. And I think that they're vague at best and they're confusing at best.
Well, I also feel like they're blame shifting as well.
Yeah, they're victim blaming in a lot of ways. Or they're placing the responsibility, it's the wrong way to put it. They're placing responsibility oftentimes on the victim of abuse. And this is something that's really yet to be acknowledged from a trauma-informed model. Right. Rather than the disease/codependent model where this makes sense if you're reading this to someone who is codependent. Because what it sounds like though is that this is a stupid person that doesn't know any better. And they're so ignorant that we have to give them really essential instructions on how to live. Where we're really underselling what these women usually are. These are women who are running an entire household by themselves. Yep. They're taking care of children by themselves. They're handling finances by themselves.
They're doing everything.
Y'all, these are not
having jobs. They're not stupid people. No.
But this is written as if you're a child.
Yeah, it is.
It's just, it's like the whole tone of it is so effing demeaning.
It is.
And that's what I hated about a lot of the literature about what wives ought to do and spouses ought to do is it's really, really written like you're being talked down to.
Yes.
Like they're punching down at you. Like
Exactly.
something's wrong with you. As opposed to recognizing that you have picked up on these behaviors and these patterns because you're holding on for dear life. This is survival. And
these are trauma responses.
That's all. I know we talked about that in the last episode, and I don't want to spend forever there, but that's my take.
So I'm just going to go through the rest of this. Don't lose your temper with me. It will destroy you and any possibility of helping me. Well, this is also putting you on the responsibility to help them. Don't allow your anxiety to compel you to do for me what I must do for myself. So I'm really big on, I do teach a lot of and encourage a lot of people to don't do for them what they can do for themselves. I think that's an important thing to have just as even a parent, a spouse, whatever, as a human. But I don't like how it says don't allow your anxiety to compel you to do that. Most of the time they're doing this out of survival. It's not that they want to do it. It's that they're doing things out of survival.
Yeah. If you don't go to work today, we're going to lose our house. And I have to say something.
Yeah.
And they're saying, it's just your anxiety. Don't let your anxiety tell you. Like, no, this is a real, legitimate fear. There's a letter in the mailbox right now. Yeah. This is happening.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Don't cover up or abort the consequences of my behavior. It reduces the crisis, but perpetuates the illness. Again, sometimes the consequences, you can't provide consequences because it's going to affect you and your family.
Yeah. There's some consequences that are like, ooh, that's your problem. You go sit in jail.
Yes.
But there's downstream of that, there are, secondary consequences and there's other effects of that. Now you can't provide for the household, and how the hell are we going to pay our bills?
Exactly.
And that matters, running up credit cards and things like that.
Like waking somebody up every morning, to make sure they get up and go to work. You would easily say, don't do that.
I agree, but at the
also
same time, if someone does, I just trust that people have good reasons for the reasons they're doing things. Like I trust adults most of the time anyway, especially spouses and partners, because what I've come to understand is that they're incredibly responsible people. Like I trust this person has good reasons for why they're doing this. And we shouldn't look at everything they do and say, blanket, you can't do that. Because as we'll get into later on, like craft, it really kind of turns this on its head. A lot of this stuff,
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Above all, don't turn away from reality as I do. Chemical dependency, my illness gets worse as my use continues. Start now to learn, to understand, and to plan for my recovery and your recovery from codependency. We need help. We cannot help ourselves. We need professional help. I hate myself, but I love you. To do nothing is the worst choice you can make for us. Please help me, in all caps, your addicted person.
Yeah. That last line, man, I hate myself, but I love you. Like how they like to rub that in and shift
so
blame.
Manipulative, though. It's still manipulative. Like you can't do that. Yeah. Tough, and to do nothing is the worst choice you can make for us. Like, whoa, bro. Like you doing nothing is the worst choice that you can make for us.
Yeah. So this is the opening letter that they are given, spouses and partners are given in a treatment program, an intensive outpatient, which is a lot of people attend these sorts of things. That's the message that they're given on day one. Can you imagine what the rest of this stuff looks like? The rest of the messages that they're given, and how this stuff can get rather confusing. This is something that needs to be clarified. I think at the very least, let's clarify it, okay? And so where do we go from here?
What are you talking about with clarifying? What were you talking about?
I think that the rest of this episode, that's what we're doing. Is we're clarifying. Okay, well, you would agree that's confusing as hell, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So then what is so complicated about support and addiction? I think that you have these two opposing fields that are kind of pulling at you, right? You have the real experiences and the real traumas and the real effects of a spouse or a partner, and you're weighing that with them and their desire for the relationship to work. And that's very, very strong. Regardless of what many spouses or partners have gone through, that pull, that magnetic pull toward that person and that relationship and that dream to have a relationship and to be loved and to have someone that truly admires you and respects you and everything that we want when we enter relationships. And then on the other side of it, what you've got is this mess of stuff that's coming from the treatment industry. And you've got things like this that are more directed toward codependency. And it's mixed messages at best. I think it's really, really, really confusing because you're told what to do and what not to do, oftentimes in the same sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, shit. So when people are asking, how do I support them? Maybe you're right. Maybe I should believe them and just be like, well, maybe they're just really, really effing confused, because who wouldn't be confused in looking at a lot of this stuff?
Well, and what if you're going to meetings that teach you to just care about, do your thing, just focus on you, don't worry about what the other person's doing. This is during like active addiction or whatnot, or alcoholism.
Yeah.
And they're telling you, detach with love, don't nag them. You need to just focus on yourself. And then when they go into recovery, like if they go into recovery, you go and you get these different ideas of like, well, you need to be supportive. You need to be involved in their recovery. You need to meet their new friends. We talked about this in the last episode, all the things that you're supposed to do. That's going to be really confusing because you have to like completely shift. And it's like, it's still, what about me in a way? It's like first you're telling me I really, really need to focus on myself. But then whenever they get into treatment, I need to be super supportive and be totally involved in their recovery. It's got to be really confusing for a lot of people.
It's really confusing. And like common instructions that you're usually going to get from the recovery world, I think number one is that you need to go find an Al-Anon group. You need to go there. You need to learn how to detach with love. You need your own recovery. You need your own support system.
But you do need your own recovery. But
yeah, and I don't disagree with any of this stuff, right? I think that you do. Like, and with our way, I should say, of rephrasing that is that like you are going to need support. You are going to need a community. You're going to need some kind of a process to walk you through this. Yeah. And that can look however you need it to look, right? Many people do go the Al-Anon path, but that's like we've talked about. And listen, like 12 steps saved my life. Like I'm not here to just beat up on different 12-step groups. I'm not really. I can just sort of objectively look at them and say, like, there are some really good things about them. And there are some things that I question and I wonder, and when it comes to, like, it's not a franchise. They're not franchises. You're not going to get the same experience when you go to a group in San Francisco versus Albuquerque, New Mexico. You're just not. Every group is self-supporting. They are autonomous. They are a little bit different. And so when you tell someone, you're assuming that they're going to get your same experience. They're going to learn the same things that you learned. And what I know for a fact is that that's not true. And that's just not true. And there are some people who have had widely different experiences. And it's rather invalidating when the only answer that you guys have to give in comments is go to Al-Anon. And you punch down at them as if they haven't thought of that before or they haven't tried that before.
It's not for everybody.
Or that it's the only way that this works, And I see people in 12-step AA do this to people all the time too. I'm like, guys, like, if what we're trying to do is help other humans, like, recognize that there are other ways humans get help. And we're assuming that they're going to have the same exact experience that you did. Like, yeah, go ahead and tell them about your experience, but don't for a second tell them it's the only effing way that it works. And
respect their ability to make their own decisions for what works for them.
Right. So they're going to get some, like, spouses especially get some really generic statements, like just detach with love. You just need to learn how to detach with love. And it's like, well, what the hell does that mean? And it can mean 10 different things to 10 different people. And everyone's got their own take on it that's rather specific to their situation. And it's difficult, right? I think that a lot of people struggle with this sort of middle ground. We're kind of taught for ease how to think in binary terms. Detaching with love is very complex. It is. It is not as simple as you think it would be to love someone, but also detach from the outcome. I think it's a lot of times what we're really getting at is I love you, but I'm detached from the outcome of these actions, whatever that might be. And it's okay. What are your takes on it?
No, there's more. There's a lot more. There's a lot of different takes with detach with love. And like we've had our episodes on it and how we believe that it's something that naturally occurs. It's not a tactic. It's not a tactic. And I don't think it's something, but I see where people are like detaching their emotions from their loved one. They're detaching their lives from their loved ones. They're like detaching, but they're still loving them, but they're still letting them do whatever they want to do. Like there's not much accountability there.
Yeah.
It's more of just like detaching from like doing your own thing. And I'm like, well, but this is a marriage, there should be some type of accountability and bonding and all those kinds of things. So I don't know. I think that can go multiple ways and some people misinterpret it and some people might not use it in the way that I feel is the best way to use it.
Yeah. Detaching with love I think that it's sort of the long route for, it's almost like emotionally leaving a relationship before you physically leave a relationship in a lot of ways, as you start to redraw the boundaries of your expectations and what you would expect of somebody, and then begin to understand that you are independent of them, even though you're still in a relationship, that you can love them without being intimately involved with them in their lives and their drama and what they're doing or not doing. And you can love someone from a distance. You truly can. You can love someone and leave a relationship. You will probably always love them. Love is not, but I think that it is always a result, not a tactic. If you seek to detach with love by detaching with love, you will fail. If you start to redraw your expectations, you start to recognize where you begin and they end, the result of that process is that you will detach with love. You can't seek out to do it. It's a result of these other things. I think sobriety works a lot of the same way too.
Yeah.
I think what I was after in sobriety was I was trying to stop drinking, and in not drinking, I thought I would be a better person. But what I did was I just started to work at being a better person, and the result was not drinking.
Yeah.
I think it works the same way. It's a result. It's not a tactic, if that makes sense. And people that I have seen use it as a tactic, change my mind, but you seem miserable all the time, every one of you. You're always mean. You're always so angry, goddammit.
I don't know, man. Some people have been really angry in our comments lately when it comes to that.
Okay, another instruction they get.
Don't nag, don't criticize, don't confront, don't talk, which is what we said. I mean, seriously though, like what the hell, dude? Like, or just, you're just supposed to be kind all the time? Like it doesn't work that way. But that's basically what was said in that letter too. It was like, don't nag, don't lecture, don't do any of those things, which we've talked about this in other episodes. Like obviously it doesn't get you anywhere. And we've encouraged people not to be aggressive and use their anger as fuel, to do actions instead of like using words or whatnot. So but a lot of the times this rubs people wrong because they're like, okay, but what am I mad? What am I supposed to do? You know? It's like, but they're telling you, don't do that. Don't lecture. Don't criticize. Don't confront them. Don't say anything mean to them. It's like, oh, okay. I don't know.
And you're sort of creating a system in which like you are destined to be walked over. Here's what no one ever says either. And I think that whenever with the very start of all of this is that it is a very real and possible outcome that you two are no longer together at the end of this. And through this process of recovery, one of two things will happen. You will figure out how to make it together, miserable possibly, or sober and happy possibly, or you will separate. And no one ever says that. That's just a reality that no one ever really wants to discuss. People have to figure this out on their own, but no one ever really wants to say that. And then we'll get to that kind of at the end, but that's the truth. I think if you present that as an outcome that happens for a lot of people, it kind of changes the way that you approach it in a lot of ways. I think it really does. So when I think about this question, how do I support them? What do I do? I want you to not complicate it too much yet. Let's start to think about what you would do for a friend in any other aspect of their life whenever you felt like they needed support, or whenever you know they needed support, or maybe whenever they asked for support. Let's think about in the context of someone who's going back to school to earn a master's degree or something. Let's think about someone who's training for a marathon. Let's think about someone who's
trying to get fit.
Yeah, trying to get fit. You know, like whether if it's school, career, like they're really working their way up, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Support is generally encouragement plus space. That's usually what we're doing, right? We're encouraging them along the way. We're listening to them as they're talking about what they want to do and like what they're after, what their goals are.
You're interested.
That's what like half of friendship is.
It's literally basically what support is. It's just like, I'm interested in what you're doing. I'm going to hear you. I want to be here to listen to you.
Yeah.
I'm going to encourage you and give you some positive reinforcement. And when you feel down, I'm going to be there for you too. And we're going to talk about it. Like that's basic support, right?
Yes. I was talking to this guy one time about marriage and I was like, dude, I would say like 80% of marriage is just giving a shit about what your spouse is talking about. Like really, like what are their interests? What are they into? What's going on in their lives on a day-to-day basis, and actually listening to it because you're interested. You're interested. Not because you're trying to get something out of them, but because you're actually interested.
That was difficult for you to get to at some point.
I was consumed with myself for a very long time.
But if you think about it though, like how, now that we do that, or now that you do that now, is it easy? Like, how do you feel about it?
I don't even think about it. Like, I just think about you.
Do you just think of like, okay, I'm just really interested in what you have to say?
Like genuinely interested. Like same thing with our kids. Like I'm genuinely interested. I want to know what he did today at the lunch table. I'm curious what she said. Yeah. What's the drama? I want to know. It's like a soap opera. It's fun.
Right. It's great. It is.
But with your spouse or any of your friends, like care. Like I don't know how to say. Like you should care about what people you're close to you are doing and like what their goals and dreams and aspirations are. And that's not. I don't know how you teach that. Like just start caring, start to think about it and focus on it. If you have trouble with empathy, go back and listen to my episode for Monday because I talk about how to develop that and how to actually develop introspection and emotional intelligence, which is a huge part of this. But like think about it as any other area of life. How would you support somebody, guys? It's encouragement plus space. In addiction, though, it gets a little muddy because support is oftentimes like absorbing damage. It's ignoring betrayal. It's maintaining hope, even when evidence states completely contrary. And that's the difficulty of supporting someone in recovery. Also, there's this difference in expectations oftentimes. Many couples who are going to treatment, like wife feels like I'm going to get this totally different person that comes back home. And that's just not the way it works.
Nope.
They're going to go away for 30 days. They're going to learn a lot of stuff. They're going to be focused on themselves. They're really not thinking that hard about the relationship in there. They're not really talking about how to rebuild relationship. Like their goal in treatment is to stabilize you, give you enough of an education so that you can get out and then start to actually work recovery. That's it. Like treatment is almost like ICU. And then when you get out, now you get to go to physical rehab and you start to do the day-to-day stuff while going to work. That's like what recovery is. It's the day-to-day living with life, learning as you go kind of stuff. They're not really in there thinking about it like you guys are. They're just not. Like they're oftentimes focused on themselves. They're thinking about like their triggers and their trauma and their relapse prevention plan, all that
sober.
shit.
Yes.
That's it. And so I think that there's just this expectation that someone comes out and it's almost like a body shop, like you drop your car off and they come out and it's like fixed. And that's not the case whatsoever.
No, but I do believe like there is like I noticed you were different when you came out. You had a new light. You had the light that you had when I first met you. And I think that that was something that gave me the confidence to support you and push forward and do those things. Now, I feel like if you didn't have that light, which I think some people, there are some red flags, you know, when they come out of treatment. If you didn't have that and you were like really frustrated and angry and pissed off, I don't think I would have been able to support you as easily that way.
Yeah.
Does that
I
make
could
sense?
totally see that. I think that I've said in the simple terms, and I don't think I agree with this 100%, but I'm going to say it anyway, is that you can really only support someone to the degree that they're offering or they're supporting themselves. And that's with their efforts, right? So like, let's say I was training for a marathon, you wanted to support me. How would you do that? A lot of it is like cheering me on. It's telling me that you're proud of me. It's like, you know, asking me questions about like what my training schedule looks like. And is it difficult to get up that early? And like, awesome. Can I come with you sometime? Like maybe to inspire me or like to keep me accountable. Like that's what it would look like. And recovery isn't a hell of a lot different, except for some people, a lot of people will tell you that there's some things you can touch and some things you can't. If I was going to go running and you asked me, did you go running today? I'd be like, no. You'd be like, slacker. But if I didn't go to, you're not allowed to ask me if I've been to meetings because that's codependent. And then if I told you no, and you called me a slacker, what's going to happen? You know, you're going to get grilled for it.
Yeah, but then sometimes they encourage you to ask about the meeting. So it's really confusing.
It is.
So that's why I don't even want to look at like all that stuff that's giving out there. I want to say based on our experience.
Yeah, so I think that recovery and support, oftentimes it's going to be contingent on the motivation that person has to really take this thing seriously. Yep. And I think that you kind of base it off of that and you gauge it off of that, right? If they come out and they're gung-ho and they're ready to go, awesome. You're probably ready to support those efforts in any way that you can. You guys can have a conversation about what that looks like. Now, when I mentioned, I still think that recovery has a lot in common when it comes to supporting someone who's like going back to school or whatever else. It's encouragement and space. And so oftentimes people ask like, how did you support Matt in early recovery? Mm-hmm. Will say, we had 2 little kids. Whenever he would come home in the evenings after he'd been working all day and I had been dealing with these kids, I got to go to a meeting. And like, I mean that. I would come home and there'd be kids all over. One would be crying, freaking out on the couch in like timeout. And the other one would be like at her legs, like trying to pull her pants down almost, like begging for something, whatever it was. And she'd be frantically like trying to do dishes or cook dinner. And I would come home to this and have to be like, I have to go to a meeting and like feel horrible because I can see what's happening. And she would give me this look that's like, are you effing kidding me? But do it. You gotta go. Like you have to do this. This is important. And so she's giving me
2 thoughts at once.
Space. She's giving me that space. Like that is how you supported me in so many ways. Other ways you supported me was we had long in-depth conversations about the things that I was learning. I would tell you about things that I was proud of with myself. Like, holy shit, like went to a restaurant today and everyone ordered a drink and I didn't. It was like the first time I'd done that. And you're like, that's crazy. Was it scary? Like, how did you handle it? And then you start asking me questions and like, You're interested. We're making eye contact. We're talking about it. That's what support looked like for us. It was
me being interested in what you were doing. Now we're trying to change it a little bit, obviously, to where both people.
Where I'm asking her these sorts of questions too.
Right, exactly. We didn't have that because we didn't know. I wasn't aware that we didn't know that I needed to go down that recovery path or whatnot.
Let's role play for a moment here.
Okay.
Back in that time, had I asked you, how are you doing? Do you think that some of the messaging from the recovery center would have made you respond differently than you would now? Like when you were really drowning, like if I had to send Paige now back then to respond, I think that what you would say is something to the effect of like, I was hurt in ways I never recognized and I have no clue what my recovery is going to look like. But would you think how would you have responded back then if I asked you the question, what can I do for you? Like, how can I support you? What are you going through right now?
I don't know. I don't know how I would have responded to that. I possibly could have just been like, I'm good. I'm okay. I've got this. I'll handle this. Like everything's okay. Or I maybe would say something like, maybe could you possibly go to less meetings so that you could help me out a little bit? You know, that's where I would ask for support. But then that wouldn't be right because then you'd be losing on your recovery. And then I would feel selfish for asking you to do that.
We did have a sort of conversation like that. And I started going at lunchtime.
Yes, we did. But that was like over a year later. That was a year later into recovery. Early on, it was really just confusing. I didn't know that I needed to really do anything for myself. I didn't know that I needed support from you, really. I just thought that I needed to be there and just go with the flow and support you. Because like we said, like my stuff didn't come out until 4 or 5 years later. So I just didn't know. I didn't know. But I think now with people, it would be better if you're able to know and have conversations together surrounding both recovery and not just yours, not just you.
I think it's fair to say that it's rather easy to support someone who is motivated and who's doing the deal. I think it's pretty easy to support that person. What do you do for people that aren't motivated? What do you do for people that come out and like there's guys out there that don't talk for shit. Like they don't say hardly anything. They don't talk to their wives. They don't talk about what they're feeling. They don't talk about what they're going through. There can be an elephant in the room that they haven't been to a meeting in 2 weeks. How do you support that guy?
Well, I think you need to go back. It boils down to your values and if you guys still share values at that point, because I don't know if you can force that person to talk to you. Would you be able to force that person to talk to you?
I don't think you could force them, no, but I think that you could have a challenging conversation about it. You could tell them, this is what I would do anyway, and don't take this. Listen, this is not therapy. I am not a professional. Do not take what I have to say as like gold. But this is what I would do because I'm a human and I have opinions about things. This is how I would handle it. If there's someone in my life that wasn't taking this seriously, I've actually had this happen. I've called them to like coffee or something and like, hey, we need to talk, dude. Like whatever you're doing right now is not going to work for you. This is not going to work. And it's not me picking on you. I'm really concerned about you. You've made a lot of efforts to try to get sober. You went to treatment, you went to IOP, but now that you're home, you've lost motivation. I would be happy to support you, give you time, motivate you. We can have conversations about this in the evening. But if you're going to sit around here and just do nothing, it's a situation I can't be part of.
Yeah.
And you have boundaries around that because at that point, I think what you're going to be feeling is, I can't do this shit. If you're not going to care, then I can't do this shit. I can't. I cannot sit around.
You can't hold their recovery.
It is going to rip you to shreds from the inside out if you continue to just observe and stay silent. That's a fact.
That's true. It's true.
Yeah, it's going to rip you apart. So it's really difficult.
You've fired sponsees for not being serious, right?
Yeah, fired's a funny word. I would have basically told them.
It's boundaries.
Is that
you set boundaries.
Yeah, basically like, hey man, I will take the shirt off of my back for you. I will come pick you up in the middle of the night from wherever you are. I will help you to the degree that you're like wanting to do this, but like, don't just call me and vent and then never do anything. Like I have a family. I have other people who really are wanting to do this thing and you're taking time from them. And I've told them that, like, don't call me if you're not serious. Like there are other people I can get you in touch with, but I'm for people who are serious. End of story. Mm-hmm. And I don't apologize for that either.
Yeah. No, there comes a point where you just got to you've got to figure out if this is somebody that you want to support or not based on your values and what you want in a relationship.
And that information should be in this pamphlet. The information on what to do when someone isn't serious, what to do and how to encourage or how to support someone or how to protect yourself when they're not taking it serious, because that book is written and every one I've ever seen is written as if this person is going to come home and work this shit like their life depends on it. And that's just not reality. That's not the reality of it all.
So true.
I think that is something.
It is a bit individualized when it comes to that.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who are going to take it really seriously. You know, there are going to be some people who come home and they want to change the recipe. They come home and they're like, oh, I'm not doing that. I'm doing this instead. And I've got my own ideas about it. I believe truly that in a relationship, you get a say in a lot of things. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you get to dictate the terms of their recovery. But I think that if you give a shit about other people, you should listen and hear what they have to say. Like, they love you. They have your best interest in mind. I would encourage anyone to do that. But at the end of the day, like, you can have boundaries around what you're not willing to tolerate. And that's fair, man. That's fair. I think that it's really easy to support someone who's doing the deal. It's really hard when they're not willing to do the deal. And I think craft is probably where the conversation needs to go now. So we've talked about craft.
We've had somebody on.
We had someone
who's
on
a craft specialist.
Amber Hollingsworth. Put the shovel down. That's the name of the channel, right? To drop the shovel or put the shovel down?
I don't know. I always mess it up.
Put the shovel down, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, craft is community reinforcement and family training. This is a technique that is taught to get people into treatment. And they have higher success rates than things like Al-Anon or Nar-Anon. About 20 to 30% higher chance of getting someone into treatment. I didn't say staying sober for a long time. I just said into treatment. And that's what they claim to do. I think it's something like 60%. Let me see here. 64% of people with craft versus roughly 30% or less with Al-Anon or Nar-Anon. And it's really simple for the most part. It's positive reinforcement. It's the same thing that you would do with your kids, right? When you see positive behaviors, reinforce those. Let that person know that you appreciate that. That's amazing. It's almost like you get these little dopamine rewards whenever you're doing the right thing. And then on the other side, you give them boundaries and natural consequences when they're not. It's rather common sense, but it's kind of difficult because everyone's family dynamics are a little bit different. And so if you're going to be doing this, you do need to hire a craft family specialist. It's like therapy, sort of, kind of expensive, and it's prohibitive for a lot of people because it does require everyone all in. And our biggest issue with it has always been, Paige, go ahead and say it because I know you're trying to. I know that you're like over there dying, like, hang on, let me get this in.
Which part? Which part are you trying to get me to say?
What does it do for family members? What does it do for you?
It still dismisses your feelings and your experiences and what you're going through. It's still all about the person that's struggling with addiction.
And that's true. That is true. That is the issue here, is that anything that you are going to be doing,
I feel like it's somewhat manipulative as well.
It is very manipulative. That's kind of the point.
And it's also telling people that, okay, if you get them sober, everything's going to be okay. Because it's like, this is what you wanted, right? Like, you wanted them to get sober, but people don't realize that sobriety is only about 5% of solving the problem. Like, this is the first step, but it does not guarantee anything else. And it doesn't guarantee recovery. It doesn't guarantee long-term sobriety. It's just getting them there. And then what happens after that? You're still burying your emotions. You're still not dealing with what you've gone through and the things that you've dealt with within your relationship because you're still so focused on them. Like, your life matters too. I'm all about positive reinforcement. Our relationship has always been about even when in active addiction. I didn't do it to get you to, get help because you were a closet addict. It was just part of my values. Like, I didn't want to be a complete biatch to you, you know? I wasn't petty. I would get angry, but I would start planning stuff in my head. But it was more about, like, if you were doing a good job, I'm still going to tell you you're doing a good job. And I think that you appreciated that. Like, I had solid boundaries, but also had positive reinforcement with you. So I think that I did that to a certain extent, but it wasn't manipulative. It was just who I was. Yeah.
And craft's really beneficial if you're someone who, like you, doesn't have trouble with positive reinforcement. You're likely already doing a lot of this in your lives. You probably already are telling someone that you're proud of them. You're letting them know, like, that's amazing. Like, I'm not a certified craft mentor. What do they call these people? Therapists? I'm not even sure. But everything I've read on it, and there's a book called How to Get Your Loved Ones Sober that really breaks down the process of craft. But I think that there's kind of a dark side to it in a lot of ways, because as Paige mentioned, it's almost like a manipulative way to get someone to do what you want them to do. And in doing so, you're setting aside your values sometimes. You're setting aside what your real opinions about stuff. And then you're playing a role. You're like an actor in a lot of ways to get them to get a desired result. I think that some spouses, and I've known them to be, I would just say, simply controlling. I've known some controlling people, spouses and partners. I don't know where this comes from. I don't know if this is a result of dealing with someone like me or if this has always been there in them. But if you are a controlling person and you teach someone how to manipulate others, that can be a dangerous tactic for people. I know someone in my life who doesn't need to know how to do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this can be, it's from the words of someone who's even worked in this field, it seems abusive in a lot of ways to more or less sacrifice these families and the needs that they have that they don't realize they have to get someone sober. But encouragement can look performative in some ways too. So if you're just dead set on doing it, like we encourage people, like turn over every stone, see what that looks like for you. But kind of back to the overall point, there is no such thing as a guarantee in any of this. There's no way to motivate or support someone guaranteed. There's no way to get your happily ever after guaranteed, no matter what, period. And I think that we need to have that conversation on day one with families. It is the truth, y'all. I don't want to be the guy that's like rain on everyone's parade, but that's just the truth. I mean, you can look at recidivism rates, you can look at the rate of relapse, and they don't tell you whenever you're sitting in on these things that roughly 1 in 20 will be sober in a year, that of those, roughly 40% of them will be sober in a year, and they will have had several relapses to get there, but the majority, 60% or more, don't get sober in that year. And so for those people, they don't give them instructions. They don't tell them what the most likely outcome looks like and how to protect themselves.
You were told that in a meeting.
I was told that.
And you were the only one that came out?
I was the only one. I'm the only one from my group of 20 that's been sober since the beginning.
Yeah.
Of my group, though, there are 4 of us that are sober today.
Yes.
Now, the other 3 were back and forth, went to several different treatment centers, but they did finally get to a point. I think 2 of them are actually addiction counselors, which is pretty funny. There's another one, he's been sober for a couple of years, but it's just kind of in and out. But there are also 5 of those people that are no longer with us at all. And then many more that I can't communicate with. I've tried to reach out. I don't know how they're doing. I have no idea, but the outcome's probably not great.
Well, what I was getting at is that I don't believe that I was ever told that statistic in any of those meetings during the family program.
No one wants to. I think that hope, in a lot of ways, we've talked about the power of hope and how a beautiful thing it can be. And I feel like, I guess they feel like it's not their place to crush it, but I would argue that it is. It's your job as the professional here to communicate the
reality,
the gravity and the reality of this situation is that's the likely outcome for a lot of people, is that they stay out there or they die. For some of other of us, we figure it out after a time, and you're going to be managing chaos in the middle of all that. And then for a very, very select few, they'll figure this thing out and they'll get out of here and they'll be fine. But it's very few of those, most people. I go to a treatment center with a group of 5 guys. 2 of us got sober on the first try, but the other 3 or 4, it's like several different trips. There was a guy with us last week who'd been to, I'm not even kidding you, over 40 treatment centers. And he's in his probably 60, over 40 treatment centers. He said that he spent a cumulative of 8 years of his life in treatment over that time period.
I have no words.
That guy's family got the same speech every time, like people need
real instructions. Or they didn't go. I know a lot of people, like I said earlier, they will drop off their people and they'll say, this is your problem, not mine. Fix him. I know that happens. Like, seriously, it does. Yeah. And then so they won't go to the family programs. But then some of them,
the dog at the boarding place.
But then they will go to the family programs, and they'll start getting this information, and they're like, what? And there were some good things that they gave me that I was like, oh, okay, that was me. Yeah, I could do better here. I could do better there. This is great. But there were some things I remember reading, and I was like, bullshit. Yeah. So I questioned it all. I did. I was like, nah, man, something ain't right here. And that's why we're here doing this.
That's why we're
changing it. We're changing the narrative.
Hopefully doing that for people. But I think
it's helpful.
More than anything, just being honest with people. And I think like when it comes to craft, when it comes to like you being supportive, use your common sense. You likely know how to be supportive and you don't need any of my advice. I think it's as simple as, I will leave it at this. Get interested in the things that your loved one is interested in.
Yeah.
And also live by the values that you preach, right? So be true to yourself and those values. Lead by example is what I'm saying.
Well, no, not just that. Also, don't forget about yourself. Don't be so into them and their recovery, interested in them. Learn about yourself too. Like, find the middle ground. You've got to heal from some things. Y'all got to heal together. It's not just going to be about supporting them. You need support too. You need support from your spouse. You need support from a community of people who are going through the same thing. It's not just about them. It's about y'all together as a unit.
And it is. It really is. Like for us, it was two people. It was two people really working at it. I just wish we would have been working in the same direction.
I was still focused on you. But it was also different because we had little kids.
Yeah, little kids will distract the hell out of you. They're really good for that, if anything. But there's a huge burden placed on spouses and partners, and it's an unfair burden. It's an unfair shake. It's an unfair share of the weight. And these mixed messages that come across that make it rather confusing on how to even support somebody, right? Like a wife is told, like, if you just support him enough, he'll get it. Like no one's actually saying that, but they're kind of saying that in a lot of different ways through different mixed messages and mixed signals. But whenever they relapse, you're going to blame yourself because you weren't supportive enough. Because remember, you were told that support matters. So if you were supportive and it didn't work, then what are you to think?
There was a thought I was just having. Okay, so we know.
Got us an insight?
We talk about, I'm sorry, this might come out of nowhere, but I just had a thought. We talk about how environment is extremely important for both parties, right?
Yeah,
like social learning theory, big deal.
That's
like our course. That's what we talk about. So what the treatment centers are trying to do is to make sure that the addict comes home in an environment that is different than before.
That is conducive to their sobriety.
Right. So here's the thing. I didn't have to do all that stuff to realize that when you got home, environment changed as it was because you were doing the work. It wasn't me changing my behaviors. It wasn't me having to change who I was. It was you changing. And then I kind of like went along with it, right? I didn't have anything to get mad at you about because you weren't spending all the money on bullshit. You weren't lying to me. You weren't leaving the house all the time, except for like going to recovery or going to meetings. I was like, okay, this is really difficult because he's still leaving and he's not being here. But I wasn't mad. I didn't have resentment. I wasn't at that point at all to where there was any resentment. So I was like, all right, you came into an environment that was still pretty healthy and I gave you positive reinforcement. I think a lot of the times people are past that point when their spouses come home and they might still had a lot of resentment. They might be angry. There still might be some screaming. There might be some nagging. There might be some lecturing. There might be some like the whole, I'm going to check for bottles. I'm going to check your location. I'm going to do all this. And they haven't changed their behavior. But again, that's earned distrust, right? Yeah. So there's a middle ground there where it's like, that's where you would play the part of, I understand why you're acting like this. And I get it. Let's talk about this. I'm going to hold space for you. Yeah. So it's not about you looking at your defects and changing who you are in the environment.
You can do that.
You can do that
for yourself.
Yes, for yourself.
But you are not going to do that and get a result from someone else necessarily. I think this is something that rings true in my head all the time, is that when you have been the offender, when you have been the betrayer, when you have been the abuser, you have to take the lead in the repair. You take the lead. And it's really easy to support someone who's taking the lead. And the information people aren't getting is, how do you support them when they're not? And my answer is, you can't. You don't. There's very little that you can do. There's very little. I think it's also different with the spouse than it would be like my child. When it came to my child, I would work a whole lot harder to try to control that situation. But I think we all end up at the same place eventually, which is I can't not control them. I can't do shit. But here's what no one really tells you what that actually means, is that you have to leave that situation. And no one comes out and says it outright, because God forbid that a family gets broken up. And believe me, I believe in family. Family has benefited us massively. Oh, hang on. We got alarms blaring over here. Rude.
I'm sorry. My bad.
What was I going? I don't remember what I was going off on now. But either way.
Talking about how we're family. We do it. We do believe in families. It's not like it's
right. Like I believe in families, and families have benefited me very much so. I don't think that every situation is conducive to healthy children, healthy mental states, a happy family. I don't think that just because the parts of a family exist in the same home that you get to call that a family. And no one talks about how to grieve a relationship. No one tells you when it's actually time to get out of that situation. No one prepares you for the reality of someone who's not doing this stuff and taking the lead in repair. And what they would like to do is insist that everyone around them rally the wagons and let's get them. My guess is that you've been doing that and you've done that and you've tried everything. And there is no such solution that exists that is going to get you exactly what you want. There is no such way of supporting people that will get you your desired result. There's just not. I wish there was. It just doesn't work because it has to come from within. Recovery has to come from within. And it's your job, if you're the person in recovery or the betrayer of trust, to take the lead in repair. It is your job. So if you want this family, go get it. Go get it, man. But if you're a loved one, I think we have to start preparing people mentally and emotionally early on for the reality that you will likely end up split. That's just a fact. I hate saying that out loud, but it's just a fact.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on how much damage has been done.
Total, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I was saying, like, whenever you get back into the environment and everything was okay because you were doing the work, like you were doing the majority of the work. So things were changed. I see people in our community that had the same thing. They weren't at that point of being so damaged. And then whenever their partner got sober and started doing things, their environment changed and they changed and their relationship got better just because of that. It wasn't like they had to totally work on themselves completely and wholly, because the damage wasn't that bad. The problem was the alcoholic or addict within that environment. That was the problem.
Yeah, their behaviors.
So if you remove that and you get that better, or when they start working on themselves, things do start to get better as long as there wasn't too much damage done in the beginning from within the relationship.
Right. Yeah, like there is such a thing as a total relationship.
Yeah.
Gottman talks about the 4 horsemen of divorce let me pull them up. Criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. And when these 4 things are present, divorce or separation are basically imminent. Like recovery programs and things like that aren't really necessarily giving you step-by-step instructions on how to fix your marriage. And you can't really fix a marriage with 2 completely broken people either. You just can't.
I'm not broken.
I didn't say you were broken. Did I say you were broken? I'm sorry.
Everybody's broken.
You were totally not broken. No, just
kidding.
In general, like you can't fix a relationship with 2 broken people. Like you do have to do some work on your own recovery to get to a point where you're recovering separately but together.
Yeah.
I just think that our outcome is just not, it's the exception. It's not the rule. And I wish that were different. I really do. Maybe some of the work that we do and some of the new advancements in therapy and in science and medicine can help turn this in the other direction. I think that would be an amazing, beautiful thing to watch.
And we're trying to do that.
We're trying, man. But, oh God, there's just so many other people that have to face this reality that, like, regardless of what you do, it's not going to really have that much of a difference. And I don't want to squash anyone's hope. You deserve to have hope. You deserve to dream. You deserve all those things. And we're going to support you no matter what you do. I should have said that at the beginning. Like, we don't care. Like, we will love you every step of the way, no matter what.
Yeah.
Whether you decide to go back and forth 50 times or you leave day one, or you decide to stay married in spite of the fact that they're an asshole and they're drinking and whatever else. I love you anyway, and we're going to support you, and you will be part of us forever. Like, we're not going anywhere for you. We will be here for you because we know that in some way you're getting something from this, and hopefully we're keeping you sane just like you keep us sane in some ways. Hopefully that you're getting something from it. But support isn't as complicated as you think. Again, like boundaries can actually, I think that boundaries, as much as they can feel like a natural consequence to people, they are actually a form of support. Those are guardrails. These are limits. This is what you can operate in. These are for your good and my good.
But mainly for mine good, because that's what boundaries are for. They're to protect you. They're protect you. But what happens is sometimes like it does protect them and it helps them and it supports them, but it's really, don't do it for them. It's for
exactly.
you.
Like, let's say that you have a serious problem with drinking in the home, and I would understand why you would, or drug use in the home, whatever it is. And you tell them, like, if you choose to use drugs in this home, I will have to leave. I will have to go stay elsewhere. I'll get my own apartment, my own hotel room, or whatever else. And then when you do, to protect yourself, remember that's why you're doing it. They're like, oh wow, this sucks. Maybe that does push them toward making a change, but don't count on it. Like, don't do it. Certainly don't do it as a threat. And also come to terms with the fact beforehand that when you set a boundary, you get inconvenience, not them. Sucks.
I did an episode on that. So go back and listen to that. It's pretty powerful.
I had $1 for every time I had someone tell me it's not fair. I'm like, I know. I didn't say it was fair.
It's about being safe. It's not about fairness.
Here. Like, there's nothing really fair about life at all.
No.
But it's just a fact. It is what it is. Positive reinforcement can be a really great way, again, to motivate people, to keep them on the right path. Like, if you were trying to lose weight, wouldn't it feel awesome if people were like, hey girl, you look amazing. Like, I'm going to go shopping this weekend. Can I buy you a new outfit? We can try on some new stuff. Like, wouldn't that feel good? Wouldn't that want you to keep going? Yeah, but you would also have to be into the fact that you're losing weight, right? Me just doing that wouldn't, if you had no intention of losing weight or getting in shape.
I think it's challenging for people to have positive reinforcement now that I'm having this thought.
Go.
Because you're talking about like weight loss and friends and all that. It's like, okay, that's great. But this person, like my partner and my spouse, like their actions actually did harm me.
They've cheated on me.
There's been betrayal. There has been lies. There have been manipulation. There's neglect. There's all these things. And it's like it's really difficult for some people to have that positive reinforcement whenever that's been happening.
For sure.
So I just wanted to throw that out there, that I can understand why people would fear that. But if you're really, if your relationship is not done, then in recovery, and you really want to support them, then that is when that positive reinforcement goes together.
Do you think that had you gotten to that place where I had just effed up so bad so many times that, like, do you think you could have learned to allow yourself to like you give yourself back to that relationship vulnerability, I guess?
It depends on what you did, because infidelity was a no-go in our relationship. So if that ever happened.
Let's say infidelity, driving drunk with the kid.
Okay. No,
you wouldn't give it a shot.
No, that goes against my values.
Right.
That goes against my values. I don't want that for my family. I'm going to protect my kids. I'm going to set boundaries. Like, I'm not going to support you. Like, good. I want you to be a good dad. I would love to support you for that. But as a spouse, no, I'm not going to support you as like my spouse and my partner. If you've done those things, like, you're going to have to move on. But I do want you to get better for our children. No, I can't. That would be too much for me. If I had too much resentment when you got sober, I don't think that we would be where we are. You did not, like, you effed up. Okay. You did some bad things, but it wasn't like, I wasn't at that point of where I've been stung so many times that I like hated you in a way, you know?
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
I've seen couples get through things like infidelity, but I've never seen, I'm not saying they're not out there because I'm sure they're listening right now. I've never seen anyone really get out the other side of a pattern of infidelity. Like, I've heard of instances of infidelity, right, and they work through that kind of thing, but never like patterns or patterns of abuse. But for me and
my personal values, like, I don't think that I would be able to get through that. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think that's solid. Why can't I have, like, I'm allowed to have boundaries. I'm allowed to have values. I'm allowed to say, I don't want to be with you anymore because of the things that you've done. But it's really hard in the recovery world because they're like, oh my gosh, you left the addict. Oh my gosh, you did that. They lost their support. Yeah. You're part of the blame at that point. And it's like, I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. But you know what? I have a right to do what I want to do to protect my children and myself. And if that means that I'm going to say bye to you even after you've started to get better, so be it. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. It is your problem at that point. Like, it is not my responsibility to make sure you stay sober. Another thing is that your support group is supposed to come from your meetings, from people who, that's where most of your support is supposed to come from, is from people that have been in the same shoes as you, who have fought it or whatnot, and go into those meetings. That's where you get a lot of your support. Yeah, it's great to have your spouse as a support, but that's where you're going to get most of your support, because it's not our responsibility to make sure you stay sober. It is yours.
I think it's also important to understand, like, for spouses and partners, the reason that peer groups exist is because it's people with similar experience talking about a problem and how they solve the problem. You, the spouse, likely have never been through it, really. So, like, you can be helpful. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to, like, how do I manage a craving? You're going to be like,
I don't know, just don't do it.
PT that shit. I don't know. Like, but like, it's really helpful to have other people who have been through it. And so you're absolutely right about that. That's the reason that peer groups exist, is so that you can get information and wisdom from peers who have been there before. Yeah. But it's not all. So
that's really where the support is. It should not be on the spouse. It's too much.
I talk to a lot of guys. I've seen them a lot. A lot of husbands of wheelies have essentially designated their spouse as like their sober buddy. It's all going to be on them. And like, it's really, it's unfair and it is unjust to ask the person who is most at risk if you relapse what to do when you're struggling with the relapse thoughts. Like, imagine being in their position and like how torn they must feel. Like, that's not fair, man. That's not fair. You got to get support. And then when you get into that, like, now you've got something you can talk about with each other. I think that the conversation always goes back to, you can't support people that aren't willing to support themselves. You just can't. I'm sorry. I wish you could.
Yeah, but I mean, like, all in this booklet, it's telling me that this is a family problem and the family needs to support, and the family is part of the recovery, and the family needs to be there.
Has been affected.
Yes.
The family is, in that aspect, part. The family can assist in providing an environment that is conducive to recovery, or to just being a good person. Whenever you see someone do something awesome, tell them that.
Yeah.
Like, it's not It's nothing new.
Thanks for taking the trash out. That's what I do.
Yeah. But it's not the family's responsibility. And the success of that person is not going to live or die on that family system. Not to mention, I know people in recovery who have very, very toxic family systems. Not everyone in a family system is always healthy. And they've had to leave a family system and go stay in a sober living or an IOP or then move to a different state because their background was that they were surrounded by people. Like the apple didn't fall far from the tree. They were surrounded by family that was doing the very same thing. Even spouses sometimes. That's just the reality. Do you hear that noise?
I do. It sounds like crickets.
Is that a cricket? That is got. I'm gonna go out there and high five when this is over. That dude's got great pipes, man.
It's a cricket.
That's got to be a cricket. Y'all probably
that means fall is coming.
Hey. Okay, let's talk red flags.
Oh, dang. I thought we were done.
Oh, red flags, yo.
Hey, the red flags of in recovery.
So we've told you what support can look like. We've told you the conditions that support really is effective. We've told you about conditions where if someone's not interested, something you can still try to do to be supportive. But what are some red flags to look for? Because that was not really in here either. It did mention in the book that you read in the beginning.
Mention it.
It said something about lies. Don't let me lie to you. Unfair. Don't let me...
Maybe you should just not lie.
Yeah. Don't let me lie to you. Don't let me outsmart you. Hold me accountable. All this stuff. When it comes to red flags, there are the very same red flags that you would give a friend of yours if someone was dating and you start to pick up on these little subtleties. Like what if someone is hiding behaviors, whatever that might be. If they're hiding transactions, if they're hiding a credit card, if they've got OnlyFans on their credit card, if they're hiding alcohol or drugs.
You know what I think a red flag is when it comes to hiding?
What?
That they won't let you see their phone.
That is weird to me.
And I was actually listening to the episode with Chris Williamson and Dr. Is it Dr.?
John Delaney.
John Delaney. Yeah. And he was talking about phones. And it just had me thinking because I was like, oh my gosh, that is my opinion too. I love this. Is that if you're in a relationship and you can't share phones, like there's no trust there. Like I should be able to grab your phone.
Dude, you know all my
and look
passwords.
through it.
You can do whatever you want.
And I don't care. I don't do it because I don't really care to do that. I don't have to do that. It's never been my thing. It's never even been my thing to go through your phone anyway. I did at some point when you were using it, I was like, who the fuck is this? Why are you messaging this person? And I don't know. Anyway.
And it was totally a drug deal.
But yeah, it was under somebody else's name. So it was really weird. But you probably lied to me and told me and minimized it. And I was like, okay, fine. Cause I'm an idiot. Even though I'm not an idiot, you were really good at what you did.
Good at what I did.
I also probably wanted to not see the reality of that. But anyway, so if you're not sharing phones, then it's a red flag. It's a red flag. Like in a healthy relationship, we should be able to see each other's phones and be okay with it. I'm not saying like totally grab their phone all the time. Like, let me see what you're doing. Let me see. Like, it's just, let me see your phone and see what they say and pick it up, whatever your gut says. Like, okay, then if they're not going to let you see it, then there's a problem. That's just how I feel about that.
Or if they've changed their password on their phone.
Oh yeah, change their password. Like you should have your passwords
or if they have two phones.
You should have passwords to
like
a lot of things. A lot of things. Like I don't really care. And I don't even, what are your thoughts on like if having access to like specific apps or whatever? Like I don't even know what you're on. Like you go on Reddit and you go on Discord, you go on all of these chat apps or whatever.
The only thing I ever use Discord for is for trading. And
okay, but what else?
To my Discord? You can just pull it up on here.
Yeah.
I have a Reddit account and I'm on Reddit. And if you really want to read my comments on people's station wagons, you can check it out anytime.
There's a lot of secretive apps. I'm sure that a lot of people could like.
There's all kinds of stuff that maybe people are on and you don't recognize or realize that they're on. Yeah. Here's the thing about us is that we share accounts though because of TUFO. So we have dual access on pretty much everything.
We share computers too. So I actually like have seen your work email on the computer that pops up and I'm just like, okay.
I don't care.
Whatever. But so yes, I think that's a red flag. I think it's a red flag if somebody's hiding just their phone in general. Like you should be able to, this is your most intimate relationship, guys. This is your best friend. This is your life partner. You should share a lot of things. Yeah, there are some things you don't have to share, but there are things that you can share that you need to be open about.
I just realized your shirt.
Oh, yeah, my shirt. What's it say?
It's hang in there. It gets worse.
It does. I'm just going to be real. We tell people to hang in there. It gets better. Eventually, but it'll get worse first.
It gets worse before it gets better.
It does, but it's okay. That's part of the process.
It's like they say the truth will set you free, but at first
it's going to piss you off. Yeah.
There's this store in downtown McKinney, Texas, if anyone's ever around, called the Groovy Coop.
It's my favorite store ever.
Run by some really awesome people. They sell some really awesome stuff, and that shirt came from there. But
cool
I think I'm going to take that design,
socks.
And we're going to have to make something very similar because it's hilarious, I think.
It's true.
If you can't laugh about some of this stuff sometimes, why are you even listening?
Yeah, we got to laugh at we got to laugh at shit.
Able to laugh the shit anyway.
Okay, some other red flags is if you come to them about something and they get very defensive. Like this is all going to be about behaviors. Now, the behaviors it's going to take time for them to change their behaviors. I don't want you to expect them to come home from treatment and have like the perfect behaviors ever, because it doesn't work that way. It took Matt like 8 to 10 years to unravel all of the behaviors that were like
not 8 to 10 months.
No, not months, years, guys, years. But the big ones were pretty quick. He did remove a lot of the stuff pretty quickly.
Defensiveness, lying, all that stuff.
The lying, that was it. And that was the one that he really did get rid of. And that was the biggest one for me because that's the one that affected me the most. I think it took a little bit of time for him to unravel that just because it was kind of part of his personality. I mean, he might still do it now and I just don't even know.
I was just thinking do I manipulate? What's she talking about? I'd have to sit and think about it. I'm not sure. I don't know. When you're in a bad mood and I bring you snacks, is that a form of manipulation? That's not manipulation.
No, that's being nice.
Everyone likes snacks.
What are you talking about?
But I know it's going to make you happy.
No, I can't. That would be on another episode of trying to think of that.
We're thinking of this.
But let's say that they relapse, okay? And they say it was just one drink. It's no big deal.
They're minimizing.
They're minimizing that. That is a red flag because they should feel bad about it.
Yeah.
And go to a meeting or go do whatever.
Another one that a lot of people like to introduce. Let's say that you've gone to treatment for a particular drug of choice or substance, whether it's alcohol, if it's heroin, if it's cocaine, if it's pills, whatever it is. And then you come out and you live in a state where marijuana is legal and you notice they have a vape pen they haven't really told you about. Red flag.
Yes.
If they start using something like 7-0 or Kratom, red flag. Just because these things are legal doesn't mean that they're conducive to recovery or what we're really after here, which is processing our emotions from the beginning all the way to the end, uninterrupted, until we learn how to operate as adults. These are red flags, and they are going to minimize this, though, because they're going to tell you it's legal. They're going to tell you it's no big deal. They're going to tell you they have it under control. Do not.
No, what I want to say is that we have a lot of people who ask us about that. And the one thing that I typically tell them is trust your gut. Trust your gut here because they'll tell them, oh, this isn't a big deal. This is something that it's going to help me sleep. It'll make me feel better. But your gut as a spouse is screaming. It is like something is not right with this. And And you could rationalize it yourself and minimize it yourself by saying, oh, well, it is legal. Oh, it's not that big of a deal. But you're asking the question and you know that something isn't right with it. There's something not right with it. You've got to trust your gut on that.
So as addicts, like we refer to ourselves as street pharmacists a lot of the times because we're really good at coming up with the perfect concoctions to deal with any sort of ailment that could exist.
You could have been a pharmacist.
But I think that when you go to treatment, you've lost your license as a street pharmacist, as a user, right? You do not get to go see a real doctor, right? You are no longer the doctor. You don't get to decide what you're going to use because you have a pattern that shows that you are incapable.
Ask yourself, why are you even using it? If it's for anxiety, okay, that's self-medicating. You need to go to a doctor.
Go see a doctor.
You need to go talk to somebody.
I mean, maybe they give you marijuana, but I doubt it.
Or they'll, give you some meds, or they'll tell you to go to therapy. Like for me, for my anxiety, I do therapy type things.
We could get into a crunchy conversation here about the efficacy of SSRIs versus something like marijuana and which one's really actually more dangerous. Not today, but anyway, it is a red flag. All this shit.
Did you read an article on that?
No, but I've read articles.
But honestly, exercise, okay, instead of smoking, if that's your thing. Like, go work out because honestly, that's like the best thing for your anxiety and depression anyway.
I guess
it's
what
a red
I'm saying
flag.
Is that someone who's minimizing use of something, listen to your gut on that.
Right.
That's all.
Right. Okay, and then if they start skipping meetings, if they say they've got it, if they stop ignoring.
Most dangerous words in recovery right there, by the way.
I've got this. Yeah. Red flag. And here's the thing, honestly, like I don't feel like we have to tell you specifically what the red flags are because I know spouses, your gut and your instincts are telling you every time something is off. that is your red flag. That's what you need to pay attention to. I actually talk about this in our module, in one of our modules about red flags. I do. And okay, here's a little plug for our program. I haven't talked about that yet. Okay, so we have a program called Independently Strong. It was designed by us and a licensed therapist. He is the clinical architect on it. We have 10 modules. It is for the spouse and partner to help rebuild yourself, understand the things that you're dealing with, learning to trust your gut again, because that is like the most important thing that you can do. We talk about values, boundaries. You get a community call support group every Wednesday with Matt and me, or Matt or me. I screwed that up last time. Sometimes I screwed it up this time too. And other people going through the program. One of us is usually there. Sometimes we have priorities and we can't be there, but we have growth-oriented topics that we discuss. Like this past week, we talked about patterns,
pattern recognition.
And I actually had a prompt for people to come into the community and to talk about within the call. And it was great. It was like very growth-oriented. They were able to look within themselves and figure out what was going on within some things that were with their spouse or whatnot and themselves. Because we do talk about the relationship dynamics as well. It's not just about you. You need to understand what you've been through and how this relationship has impacted you. That is what the course is all about. You can get 75% off using Wheelies 75. We're going to change that soon.
Yeah, it's just going to make the course a 75% off for everybody.
Yes, we are. I'm going to change that.
Originally, it was a way to track Wheelies versus other people, but it's only for you.
We're not doing that anymore. We're going to the price is going to go down a little bit.
Right. So that code won't work for just the price that you would get with the discount. It's just there would be no discount.
There will be no discount. The price changes. Yeah. So we'll talk about that. Anyway, so I have a part in there in the module about red flags. And I was like, okay, this is not about recognizing what they're doing. It's about listening to your body and your gut instincts and what it's telling you and how you feel whenever something is happening within your relationship or what they're doing. That's what's going to be important for you.
Yeah, tuning into that system that knows all too well when something's off. Mm-hmm. And likely one that you've kind of lost touch with, because when someone's constantly lying to you and manipulating, it's rather difficult to remember what's true and what's false. It becomes really hard. Mm-hmm. But that's what you're here for, right? This is what you're doing here, for a lot of you anyway. And so like, don't ignore that. That system is powerful for a reason. Your amygdala is sending off that smoke alarm for a good reason. Listen to it. If it seems off, it probably is. And also, if you need to bounce it off someone, we've got the Discord, we've got the community, we've got different ways that you can talk to other people who have been there before, because community it does help. It helps. It's a lot better than feeling like you're alone in all this and you're just in a cell isolated by yourself and you just have to guess. You'll have people around you too, and that can be really helpful. Yep. But I think this has been a solid convo. I hope that at the end of this, you've understood that you cannot guarantee anyone else's recovery, regardless of what kind of support you provide. There are great ways that you can support someone along their journey. There are do's, there are don'ts. But I don't think it's exactly what we've been told for the last 60 plus years or whatever it has been since spousal sort of recovery has been prevalent in treatment centers and whatnot. I think I'm comfortable saying that they don't exactly have it right. But I hope that through this, you can kind of learn what works best for you and your relationship, what support might actually look like versus what do I do when someone's not doing anything and how do I support them? I hope it's been helpful, but I hope it's just been a realistic message that you can't guarantee recovery. You can't, but you can guarantee your own safety, your own dignity, and your own future. Well, that's all we've got. Until next time, I'm Matt.
I'm Paige.
And we'll see you.
Bye.